Hey, and welcome to No Credits Needed. This is the podcast about creativity where I interview a bunch of different creative people. We try to get an insight into their creative process, their creative journey, and we try to walk around with some sort of lesson for ourselves, something that we can apply to our own life. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're a returning listener, thank you so much for coming back. I want to encourage everyone to go visit nocreditsneeded.com. That's where you can check out the audio version of the podcast, the video version of the podcast, and it's kind of weird this episode because the people that are just listening to the podcast won't be able to tell something definitely changed about my physical appearance. And I'll just leave it at that. For those of you watching the video, you're going to see the intro and then you're going to see the actual video of the interview, and I'm going to look very different. But yeah, that being said, please go to nocreditsneeded.com, check it out. Also, if you've been listening to the show and you enjoy it, please take the time to go rate and review the podcast on whatever app you're using. And while you're at it, go ahead and share it with a few people that you think might enjoy it. With all that stuff out of the way, I want to get into the weekly update into how my creative process is going so far. If you guys remember last week, I told you that there was a possibility that one of my short films might get made, and it turns out that we are making it. It got picked, the class voted, and mine was one of the two projects that got picked to be made this semester. So I'm really excited to do that, and I'm actually going up first. So I think next week we're going into casting for it, and the week after that we're going to go into production. So it's like super fast. We want to, I think, it shouldn't take any longer than 3 weeks to get the whole film done. It's a 5-minute film. It's going to be super rushed, but that's how it goes at school. And I'm just excited to try my hand at directing something that I wrote and seeing if I can do it. I'm a little nervous because I don't expect it to be amazing, but and I expect to make quite a few mistakes. But I'm excited to see what those mistakes are. Just having the opportunity to test it out and try to see what works, what doesn't work, and essentially to do it for free. Because I want to be able to produce my own short films in the future. That's going to come out of my pocket, out of my own budget. And this is just made at school, so I can kind of experiment and see what I like, what I don't like, and what works and what doesn't work. So I'm excited to do that. I had also mentioned on the podcast before that I am working on a short film with a couple of my friends. I actually thought about it the other day. I'd never actually mentioned who I'm working with because you guys might know one of the people that is involved in the shoot, and that is Alexis Salem. She was a guest on, I think it was last season, and she is the writer for the short film. She's also one of the actresses in the short film, and she is the producer of the short. Oh, and she's also the editor. She's doing a shit ton of stuff for her short film. It's actually pretty amazing to see. I'm learning a lot from her. So that's who I'm working with, and we're actually going to do a 3-day shoot starting this Friday, going through Sunday. So I'm really excited to do that. That's going to be like the majority of the short film is going to be shot that weekend, and it's going to be really fun to do, and it's also going to be challenging, but I'm here for it and I'm excited for it. So I'll let you guys know next update how that went. And the last tiny update I have for you guys in terms of my life, I had applied for a PA job, which is a production assistant job, quite a while ago, and we're finally in talks, talking about like how much I'm going to get paid, what are the hours going to be. It's not official yet. Like I haven't signed any documents that say I'm an employee of this company, but it does seem like it's getting really close. I don't want to celebrate yet. I don't want to say I have the job, but I can say that I'm really close to getting it. Hopefully by next time I give you guys an update, I will know if I'm for sure hired or if I'm not. But I'm excited about. I'm even excited just the fact that I got this far in the whole interview process. But I'll let you guys know how that goes. It would be. I think it's a show that would be on Amazon, so that'd be really cool to say that I was even on set for that. So I'll keep you guys updated. So enough about me and my updates. Let's just get into who's the guest for this week. For episode 8 this week, we have Kayden Phoenix. She is a producer, a writer, a director. She is very busy. She does a ton of stuff. I'm going to link to her website, her personal website down below, so if you guys want to poke around and see all the projects that she's involved in. We talk about a few of them in this episode, but the main project she's involved in right now is a project called Latina Superheroes. And this is actually how I found her, because my wife went shopping at a comic book store and found this comic book. And for those of you that aren't watching the video, I'm holding up a copy of Santa. And it's one of the, I believe there's 5 comics in this series, and it's one of the Latina Superheroes. And my wife picked it up, she read it, she thought it was amazing, and the artwork is really good, the writing is really good. And Kayden and I talk about that and how this project got started. It's actually really interesting to hear how this became a comic book series because, as you'll hear in the episode, she is first and foremost like a writer and a director. So I was curious to know how she got into comic book writing. And I don't want to give too much away. She'll explain it in the episode. So I'm also going to plug the website specifically for the comics. It's going to be latinasuperheroes.com. Again, you don't have to remember any of this. I'm going to put it right in the show notes so you guys can click it and kind of check that out. I really encourage you guys to buy at least one of the comics. See if you like it, and if you like it, buy a couple more. Kayden would really appreciate it, and you guys would be picking up a really cool piece of art. This episode is going to be a little bit shorter than what I am used to putting out and what you might be used to listening. I believe this episode clocks in at about 30 minutes. Like I said, Kayden is really busy. She has a lot of projects going on, and I believe she had another interview set up for right after our interview, and we couldn't really go on for the regular hour, so we didn't really have a ton of time to get into a lot of detail about her personal origin story and how she got started and all of this. The interview moves along pretty quickly. I wish I would have had a little bit more time with her. And honestly, like if she's down, if she has more time in the future, I'd love to have her back on for a follow-up episode so we can get into a couple more topics, a couple more questions that I had. But I am very lucky to have had her on the show, and I really hope you guys enjoy this episode. So I'm gonna stop rambling and I'm just gonna let you guys enjoy it. So here's Kayden Phoenix. Well, Kayden, I'm so glad to have you here. I got introduced to you through your comic book series. My wife went out to buy some comic books the other day, and she came back. She bought this one. She bought Santa,
Yeah.
and she was reading it. She was really enjoying it, and she showed it to me. I really loved it. I was looking through like the art. The art really stood out to me, and then I looked at who was writing it, and then you came up. I looked up the website. I saw that you've written not only this one, but a couple other ones as well. And I think
Mhm.
you're in the process of releasing the last one, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
I
Yeah.
am, yes. Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about like how this project got started.
Well, I started it 2 years, well, 3 years ago now. Late 2019 was when the first book came out. It was called Jalisco. I started at the top of the year in 2019, January. I contracted my artist, etc., and had a 6-month contract. And so, I thought of it as really because I come from film, very independent, but writing and directing. And I was like, what can I
Hmm.
write that can be on the big screen? What would I want to see? Just myself as an audience member. And my first thought was a Latina superhero, right? And it's for
Nice.
the obvious reasons, everyone knows why. And so I was like, okay, I can write a Latina superhero.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, if I can make one Latino super, I can make five because that increases my chances. One of those will get on the big screen, which was my end goal at that time. And I was like,
Hmm.
great. If I have five, they're a team. If they're a team, they're in a universe. And it just kept kind of compounding from there.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I can do that. And then I just started, divvying up like, okay, here's one in Mexico, here's one in Texas, which is Santa, and I just put them all within the United States, except
Got
for
it.
Jalisco. But that's where it all started.
So it started with the idea of possibly making it to the big screen. So does that mean you started it as a script, or do you like you knew it wanted to be like a comic, and then you're like, if it ever gets to that point, like the script will get written then?
Oh, no, it's absolutely a script and still a script. And so it hasn't even changed. But no, I write out feature length scripts.
Nice.
And then I guess I convert it, I guess, to the comic world because when I
Mm,
wrote out the feature length script of Jalisco, like the first one, I shot a short film as well, like a sizzle to show people. And then everybody asked me for the comic. And that's why I started. And every single time I was like, no, there's no comic. No, left and right was no, because there wasn't. And then, it finally was like, it hit me. It's because it's truth by consensus. I was like, okay, maybe I should have a comic because people think there is a comic. And
mhm.
that's the reason I pivoted. So I was like, okay, it's still storytelling. It's the same story as the feature length script that I wrote out. But, this is the visual part of it, and it's tangible. And so that's how I transitioned from film to comics. I still do
Mhm.
both, but that was my transition.
Got it. I was because that's something that I was going to ask you because I went to your website and I saw that you do short films and you've done a lot
Mhm.
of like film projects, and I was just like, it's interesting that you started there, and then I wanted to know like how you got into the comic book realm of it, which is pretty interesting how that happened. So in
Yeah.
the feature length, I know you probably don't want to give too much away, but these five characters they're all in that feature length film that you wrote.
The all the books that I have are each origin stories of them separately, so them by themselves, they're standalones. And then on
Hmm.
the sixth book, which is still coming out, that'll be out in summer, is A La Brava, and that's the one where they become a team. So that's when they meet each other, and obviously we meet them as well and see how they interact. It's like the Avengers, Justice League, etc.
Got it.
Yeah.
So how have you liked this process? Because like I know you said you started in film and you had to you pivoted and it clearly like took off. Like a lot, people really like resonate with what you're writing.
Yeah.
So it must be interesting that this wasn't the intended outlet, like the initial outlet, and now people are really liking it. Like how does it feel to have pivoted and like it actually struck a chord?
I'm very grateful, honestly. It's really nice to be very well received. My comics obviously way more, they're so well received, and they're really grateful. They come up and just tell me thank you, which is so nice. Like I'm the publisher, I self-publish, and I'm the founder, I'm the boss, etc. But I'm
Hmm.
not the reason why they look so great. My artists are, right? Like the first thing you
Yeah,
complimented was the art, which is great because I have really amazing artists. I really do. And I'm just very fortunate to have them because they're the ones that elevate my book. The colors are really pretty. That's my colorist. The pencils and the ink, same thing. That's my penciler, my inker. Like
yeah,
those are not me at all. But
yeah. It's a whole team.
yeah, it's a whole team, and so it's our collaboration, and it's the same meaning as to why we're all doing it. It is the Latina representation. It is also just girl power in general. It's just like, why aren't we saved? And here's different reasons as to, and I show you, here's how we are not saved, and
Yeah.
so there's a story because the superhero can save them, because we don't get saved, and that's the gist of it.
Well, I mean, you touched on it, and you kind of alluded to it at the beginning, which is what like why write this, and it's
Mhm.
I feel like it's definitely filling a void that we
Yeah,
have in this genre, and especially for like just the amount of representation that you can give to so many people that are seeing like oh like superheroes that look like me and that do what I think I can do, like all these things, like it's very empowering for a lot of people.
thank you. Yeah, it is, and it's for all ages. I mean, I say 7 and older, or I was told 7 and older, just because it's darker content, people die, etc. That is
Yeah.
fine. But I have my books are read in college and like Chicano studies courses. They're read in high school. Like that's really amazing, and same for that reason. I am grateful. I'm so grateful that people have found it. Besides just in the comic book stores.
Yeah, well, I mean, the reason, well, I don't want to speak for her, but my wife studies art history and she's specializing in Chicano Latino art. And
Yeah,
so when she was looking through the comic books, I'm sure that had something to do with like why this popped out to her as well.
yeah,
And like you said, like I feel like in the comic book world, the art part of it is the first thing that pops out, and then
mhm,
once you get into it, the story is what kind of hooks you and continues like your quote unquote like addiction to the story that you just keep coming back for more and more and more. So I think you put together a great team with great artists, but also
thank
like
you.
your story is what, also propels it forward.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But no, I mean, honestly, my artists deserve all the credit. They're absolutely amazing, and I'm totally okay with that too.
Yeah. Well, I saw all the work that you do with film as well, and I believe you started or you, yeah, I think you started like a Chicana director group. Is that
Initiative.
true?
Yeah, CDI, so Chicana Directors Initiative. It's a
Nice.
nonprofit for Latina directors and Latina cinematographers based in Los Angeles and New York.
I think it's so cool that like you're like a lot of the things that you're doing are trying to give representation to the people that really need it, like the
Absolutely.
people that need a voice right now.
Absolutely, and the thing is we have our voice, it's just that we are shunned, right? We just can't get
Yeah.
be heard, unfortunately. Like, I started it in 2019 as well, so everything was in 2019. I was just really mad, I guess, that year. And so 2019, the diversity report came out. Annenberg USC did a diversity report, and out of the top 1,300 grossing films, only one was a Latina director, right? And so
Mm,
it's just like 1,300 films have to be made, and only one of us will be hired for a studio film. And so that is the reason why I started it. It's literally because we do exist, but here's media, here's literally the studios and everyone else saying that we do not.
yeah. Yeah, like I recently started going to school again. Like my background is like I do stand up, and then like in the pandemic I had to try to do something else. So I started going to school for film.
Yeah,
And one of the things that they were just, showing us graphs about like, oh, this is the amount of white people in film in, 1980s, and like trying to see the transition.
mhm,
And they show it to us like, oh, things have changed, but it's just like, oh, representation has gone from less than 1% to maybe 5% on screen. And it's just like, okay, sure, we're getting somewhere, but like, can we keep it going like even further than that? So I think what you're doing is amazing for everyone. I mean, it's not only for Chicanas, but it's just like for literally everyone that sees that it's possible to do.
absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot of it is just visibility. It's
Hmm.
unfortunate. It's just like we're the way I say we're very simple in what we do, and we do have our fireside chats, we do meet with producers, and little things, and obviously our meetings and whatnot, but, it's like, here's a website, here's their IMDb, here's their website. They exist. You can't say you can't find a Latina director. We have over 150 of them now.
Nice.
And it's just that.
And so part of what we talk about on the podcast is we like to get into people's like origin story, like how they got started on their path.
Uh-huh.
Like how did you get started in film?
In film, I just wanted a creative outlet. And so after college, I went to Loyola Marymount University on a full ride academia, majored
Hmm.
in business, had nothing to do with film. I did take film classes because I like film, but I had nothing to do with film otherwise. I did business, I did marketing afterwards because that was my emphasis. And that was really fun. And I very much enjoy marketing because I do like meeting people and speaking with people.
Hmm.
But I didn't have a creative outlet. And so I was like, okay, what can I do? And I was like, I can write. And so I chose screenwriting over novel writing because I don't like I can read books, but I myself don't like to write really crazy thick books. But
Yeah.
I do like film. And I was like, I can write, I can figure this out. And so I studied, you look up all the great books. I said Phil than anybody else. And it's very simple the structure of how to write a script. And so, you practice, etc., and eventually you get better. And that's kind of how I transitioned into it. Is like, okay, I'm a screenwriter now. Obviously, practice for myself. And
Yeah.
then I was like, no one's seen my work because I don't know anybody, which is obvious as well. And so I was like, let me start directing so I can show that I'm a good writer.
Mm.
And so I pivoted once more, or at that time, and I was like, "Oh, you're right. I'm a director now. Let me study how to be a director." Same thing. There's tons of YouTube. There's tons of things to read, etc.
Of course.
I
Yeah.
I found a crew and I started shooting, and so like little quick and very short 1 day film shoots. But like that was my film school. I threw myself in there, and so that's how I started, and that was a few years ago.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about film and about art is it's something that I'm learning as well too. Because like I went to college before for something completely unrelated to film or stand up or anything,
Yeah,
and it's a common theme with a lot of the guests on the show, which I think is pretty cool. Is like we kind of went this path and then we realized actually this isn't like it's fun and everything, but it's not what I wanted. It's not my passion, right?
yeah.
And it's cool to find that, and then with film and art, like I mean, you could go to school for it, and you learn a lot of stuff in school. But I feel like it speaks a lot more to your resume or to your experience is that you could just go out and do stuff. And it's cool to hear that like that was your film school. You just got a group of people together, got your crew together, and you're like, let's fucking do this.
Yes. It was so much fun. I learned so much. I hope they had fun too. But yeah, I mean, it was a great experience. I always have really great experiences. I'm very fortunate that I have a really amazing crew around me and artists around me, like at all times.
Were you thinking about doing screenwriting the whole time you were in college, like studying business and marketing, or was that something that came up later?
Oh, much later. No, I never thought about it, honestly.
Oh, really? What sparked that idea of just like I am a writer now?
I just wanted a creative outlet. Same
Mm,
thing.
so,
Marketing, same thing. Marketing is fine. I actually very much still like marketing.
hmm.
And like it's all social media is just marketing. It's not like I went away from it, but now I just don't have like a paying job doing marketing. And
Hmm.
so I like it. It's simple. It's just key points. You make people smile by giving away free product. Like it's very simple, but there's nothing fulfilling about it.
Mm,
Where there's nothing changing about it. It's temporary change because you need to make them happy, but it's not like I can raise millions of little girls right now because of my superhero books, right? Like that's
got it.
power because now they know that they can be a superhero. Now they know that they can fight for femicide. That they can fight for justice.
Hmm.
So
And you said that this started as a creative outlet, and
mhm,
so would you say like it started like as a hobby, or like the moment you're like I'm gonna do something creative and I'm gonna make this into this is gonna be my business now. This is gonna be like what I
mhm.
do.
I don't know. Honestly, I haven't. I don't. Like, I wasn't really thinking much when I started doing it. I just started doing it because I wanted to and I liked it.
Yeah.
I'm sure I kept my job just to pay the bills, but I don't know when I fully say transitioned over.
Hmm.
Um, because it's still like a racket. You still got to work. You still got to
Oh,
hustle
for
no matter
sure.
what.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's something that I had to like talk to my parents about it like when I wanted to do stand up or when I'm like now trying to get into film. They're like because it's not like a 9 to 5 job. It's the kind of thing that you have to go out, you have to create your own opportunity. So it's very like you said it's very much a hustle.
Mhm.
And I feel like sometimes a lot of, like it's not really well understood that that's kind of like the behind the scenes. You could have a job one day and then your project is over, and if you don't write something else or if you don't get someone else together, you're just stuck. And it is a hustle.
Yeah, but it's fine. I like it. I mean, I'm from LA. That's all we do is hustle. So
We hustle and we make films. That's what we do in LA.
that's right.
That's really cool. So you have a couple of short films as well, and I saw, I think it might be the most recent one, the See the Universe.
Oh, I like that one. No, it's absolutely not the most recent
That's not the
one.
most recent
Taps.
one.
Taps is my most recent. That's a military PTSD short film. It's not on
Okay.
YouTube yet. It's not on public air. It was going through the film festivals, and that's why. And
Oh.
then the one prior to that was Penance, and that one is on. If you want to go to YouTube, Gunpowder and Sky bought it, so it's on Alter, so it's their horror platform.
Mm-hmm.
And that one's Penance. It's queer horror, so
Mm-hmm.
it's dark and twisted, and it's short and to the point. And so it did really well in the film festivals. It went to Cinequest and Outfest. It won a few horror film festivals and queer ones as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so that one you can see. That one is the one from, I guess, like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. Probably two.
Got it. I think I looked at the YouTube channel where you have your shorts, and I think that was the most
Yeah.
recent one uploaded. So it's
Oh,
probably because
yes.
it got bought and it was like somewhere else.
Yeah.
Um, so it's cool that those are making the rounds at the film festivals. Like,
Thank you.
what was your first intro to that? Like, how many films did you make until you started sending them to festivals, or was it the first film you make? You're like, this is going out there.
No, the first ones I made were solely for practice, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And they were horror shorts because horror is really easy to shoot, and a lot of it is done in post, right? And
Mm.
so I had a really good editors. I have really good everybody, and composers as well. And so those are really for me. They're practice. They weren't. Oh, I'm going to go win millions of awards. No, absolutely not. That was not my intention. It was my film school, and like who you can work with in the future as well.
Yeah.
And so it served its purpose very well. I think See the Universe did well as well. That was on film, a couple film festivals. Nothing too major though. That was still more kind of fine tuning my skill in that
Mm-hmm.
sense. And then I guess Penance was the first major one because that one was really that was something that's 3 minutes long, super short, but it was very effective because it had a really good twist to it.
Mm.
And so that's kind of why I think it got programmed so well. And then same thing, I think I said it was queer and it was horror. So it went into both of those film festivals because they're very niche, right? But there
Yeah.
are genre film festivals. And so it did very well.
So like as you're talking about these things, I can see the creative mind like behind what you're saying, but at the same time, like I also see like the business side of like what you probably learned in college and all that stuff. Like would you say that that's like actually helped you out through the film business? Because like honestly, like like the film industry, you can definitely just look at it from like a completely business perspective, in terms of how to make it, how to keep making films over and over and over again.
Correct. I think it is a mix of both. When I first started out, I was told by a producer it's show business. So half of it is show, which is the creative, and half of it is business.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was like, that's great because I'm great because I do default business. Like I am very creative and I do like all that stuff. But at the end
Mhm.
of the day, it is a business, right? If you don't make money, you're not going to get hired again. And it's very simple. Everyone understands that concept. So going into certain things I am aware of of my marketing of business in general, obviously bouncing sheets and all that junk I hate, but like I don't need to do that stuff. Yeah,
Right.
but it's always in the back of my mind because I am for Phoenix Studios for my comics, it's all my money, so I better have a profit, and like here's my margin and figure it out, like price per unit, etc., because I have to make money because I want to make another comic book. I need to pay the next artist
Mhm.
XYZ because it is all on me because I am the entrepreneur in that genre or in that field. And so it's both. I'm very lucky. Same thing. I defaulted business when I went into college, and so it worked out for me in my favor. And I do
Yeah,
use them.
business is one of those majors that like it's so versatile. You could just use like
Yeah.
in almost everything, literally everything, because like the world revolves around business. Something that I'm interested in is like I what I went to college for was like a science related major, so I have like that really like exercised like my logical brain. But when I
Mhm.
try to write creatively, sometimes I have to like consciously shut that part of my brain off so I can let the creativity flow. And
Yeah.
then, once the creativity is over, I had to shut that off to then go into business mode and be like, okay, how do I promote this? How do I, sell this to someone?
Yeah.
Do you have that same like I wouldn't say struggle, but like that same idea of just like, okay, this turns off now. I'm gonna open this valve now.
No, I think I don't know if I don't necessarily see it as a struggle. I think I do it automatically, which is really nice. Like if I know it's writing day, then I know I have to just be creative and just write. And I have to see the world. That's always my main thing. If I can't see it, then how are you gonna speak it, right? See it, feel it, express it. And so if I can't see the girl, I can't see her walking or talking to whomever. First, it's always world building because right now I'm in princesses or superheroes prior, but princesses, and I'm
Hmm.
making up these huge worlds that don't exist. And so I need to, solidify that first. And then I was like, okay, this girl exists here. What is she gonna do? What. But I think it's a good balance. I don't necessarily need to turn my mind off because I'm very well aware, okay, it's marketing day, what am I getting now? Or what products I'm gonna get because WinterCon's coming up and then San Diego's coming up. What new products am I gonna sell or bring?
Hmm.
Um, that stuff is very easy though, honestly. Same thing because I like it, because it's
Yeah.
fun and I like creating new products that is just like, cool, here's a mug, like whatever, here's a backpack.
Yeah.
Just to see it and also just because I like it as well, honestly.
Yeah, that's probably what it was for me because like I love doing the creative part of it, but
Mhm.
sometimes when it gets down to like, editing and doing all that like busy work, not my favorite. I'll do it because like it helps the creative project like keep going forward, but not my favorite. So it probably helps that you like doing the business part of it.
I do.
So you don't have to like turn that off. You just keep it going.
Yeah. I mean, and then you can have fun with the business stuff. I mean, like now there's Reels, right? There's TikTok and there's Instagram trying to copy TikTok, and like Reels are fun because you get to add the music, you get to add emojis, you get to add anything you want to it if you
Hmm.
want to be creative while you're doing the business aspect of it.
Of course, yeah, that's what I've learned over the last couple weeks because like this podcast started coming out like this season started coming out a couple weeks ago, and like every season that comes out, I was like, okay, how can I make this just a little bit better than the last one? Like that's my goal every time, and Reels is one of the things that came up. I'm just like, all right, like I don't have the type of personality to go on a reel, but I'm just like, okay, I got to suck it up and like do something creative here, and if I make it fun enough for me, then I feel like it definitely resonates with people that are watching it, which is
Sure.
interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's good.
Well, I mean, I might reach out to you and be like and ask for some marketing advice at some point. Um,
No problem.
but I was going back to the Latino superheroes. Like you're selling these comics. I
Mhm.
also saw that you're selling NFTs. Am I right on
Yes.
that? Yes. Okay. So it definitely seems like you are trying your best to make this as profitable as you can. And it seems like is this something that has taken off and is now you're going to use this to try to fund other parts of your creative life, your filmmaking, your screenwriting?
I'm not here to be like, let me go make $1 million off it. I'm here to create change.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the more eyes I have on it, the bigger the range I have. That obviously equates to profit, but it does equate to change, and that
Mm,
is the number one goal, regardless, right? Because what is their whole thing? What are they fighting for? Is justice, social justice, which is really
yeah.
just justice for females, and like that's what's important, and that's what's important to me. But do I still want a movie of all of them? Absolutely. I won't be able to raise the millions of dollars myself, but a studio will, right? Like somebody's going to pick it up in the future. I just got a manager. I had last year I had San Diego Comic Con, the special edition, which was Thanksgiving, and then right after was LA Comic Con. In
Hmm.
between that, I had an LA Times article, a Newsy article. I had a really good press. I got really lucky in regards to my press because that's marketing, but that's press. And so I got a few film producers wrote me because they wanted the film and TV rights. And so it was very same thing. It was really amazing. I had 3 books out at that time. Now I have 4. Soon to be 5 books with Mandita. So all my superheroes.
Hmm.
And so like I got 2 or 3. Now I got 3 different managers and agents writing me as well. And so
Nice.
so I just signed with one of them, obviously, because I can only get one. And they're the ones that are taking it out now. I didn't go with any of the producers. And so same thing, it's going. It's they're all little stepping stones, but it is going. And so you just keep going meanwhile.
Of course. Yeah, yeah. So like It definitely like it's always a mix of, you have to look at the financial side of it
Mhm.
because that's what allows you to keep going. But
Yeah.
it's really good to hear that, that is like it's like a necessary thing, but it's a means to an end in terms of telling the
Yeah.
story, in terms of reaching people. And I feel like that's a really like noble goal to have. And I feel like that's the goal that a lot of artists have, is just like, cool, money's fine. Like, if I can live comfortably, that'd be great, but I just want to get my message out there.
Yeah, both. I mean, I wanna live comfortably, but I also wanna take care of my mom and my grandma, so I have to live better than
Yeah.
comfortably for that, before I can be able
Yeah.
to do such things. But yeah, I mean, it's all important. It's obviously, we're a capitalist society where, we have to, we have to survive.
Unfortunately, yes, that's true.
Yeah,
Well, Kaden, we're reaching the end of the time that we have with you. I just want to get to one last question that we ask
yeah,
everyone.
sure.
Uh, you've lived, a couple different lives as marketing and business and filmmaking and comic book writing, all that stuff.
Mhm.
If you could go back in time and give yourself advice in any of those areas of your life, what would you tell yourself now after what you've learned so far?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't look back. The way I've learned it was like you can look back in the rearview mirror, but you can't stay there. Like you have to eventually look back forward and keep driving. And so that's what I do. Like my past has its pros and its cons, really great stuff and obviously really bad stuff too, because I was really dumb in my 20s. But like that's the way it goes with everyone in their 20s. And so I don't necessarily think I have much piece of advice. I mean, my my thing is always keep going. So I will just say that. I can say that to myself nowadays still. You just have to keep going no matter what. And
Yeah.
so I would depart that.
Well, I definitely feel like that in itself is advice. Is just, don't look back. Just keep looking forward. Like, just keep chugging on. Keep doing
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Just keep swimming. Yeah.
Well, okay, it's been great having you on. I've learned a lot so far in these like this short time that I've had with you, and I really wish you the best in everything that you're doing right now.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.